When getting a home loan, do you really need to provide the lender with all that paperwork? Well, hey everybody, it's Melissa, and today we're here with Rhonda, and we're going to go over really why a mortgage lender requires a buyer to bring in documentation of certain things and why that's important and why we all want that to remain important. So, Rhonda, first-time home buyer, ring, ring, you get them started with a loan application, and then you're going to do what? You're going to ask them to do what?
Yeah, so we're going to gather some documentation that's going to verify everything we put on that loan application. So when you look at the new loan applications, Melissa, they're like 8 pages long, and it's full of all this data and information that says, I qualify for this home. Well, now we have to verify and document every little box on that application with a piece of paper that says this is true. And so this goes all the way from the very beginning of name, address, social security number. So we're going to verify your identity, make sure that you're really who you say you are and that it matches up to all the documentation we have. So we'll be getting just a simple photo ID. And then we're going to ask you, of course, we need to substantiate your employment and your income. So that can consist of several different pieces of documentation. That would be, current paycheck stubs if you're an employee, could be your W-2s. If you're self-employed, it would be a couple of years of tax returns. Depending on the time of year that we're at, usually anything past April, then we're going to want to see a current profit and loss statement if you're self-employed to say, I'm still working at the same capacity that I was last year. We might be looking for 1099s. We might be looking for Social Security income. We might be looking for retirement income or VA benefits that you might receive. So whatever sources of income that you have, then we're going to document it with a piece of paper that says this information is true. And then we have your assets. So what kind of assets do you have for closing? So we've talked a lot about how you save up for those assets or get the cash to close. And now we have to document it. And where is it? And where did it come from? And so we're going to usually ask for at least 2 months worth of bank statements. If you're self-employed, we might need 3 months. And one thing to keep in mind on those bank statements is take a close look at any deposits. So if we see paycheck, 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 paycheck being deposited regularly, that's fine, that's normal. But then when we see suddenly a $10,000 deposit, we might want to question you on where that came from. And the thing that we're looking for is to make sure that you didn't borrow that money and have another debt to pay back. And so we want to make sure that we've got that all documented and verify the source of those funds as well. If you're going to sell something, say like you have a extra car that you want to sell so that you can buy a home, then there's some documentation that needs to go along with that. So be prepared to answer some of those questions. And if you have an income sensitive loan, so it's a loan that says you qualify for it if you don't make too much income, then every single deposit, no matter how small, we're going to ask you to document. And that's because those could be, I remember once where I had a client that just had these little $75 deposits pretty regularly into his bank account. So when I asked about it, he did snow plowing in the wintertime, and that's what he charged to plow a driveway. And so by the time I added all of those up, it actually kicked him out of the program. So that's why they ask for some of those documents. And then along with that, there could be some other things that are important, like if you've had a bankruptcy, we might need bankruptcy documents, or if you have a divorce and are paying or receiving child support, then we may need some additional documentation there. So pretty much it's income, assets, and credit documentation that we're looking for to verify every single box on that loan application that we fill out together.
So if you guys were listening, the new loan application is 8 pages. So when you're going through the process of purchasing a home, your loan officer is going to ask you for documentation. Also, too, one thing that I do know is that sometimes due to delays with supplies and contractors or water tests right now, water tests are taking almost 3 weeks right now. They were down to like 7 days before. Now they're at 3 weeks. So we're having a week or two delay. Well, we're done with that end of the month. Now we're rolling into a new month. And so a couple of my buyers are like, why does the lender need an update on this? Well, because they need to have that in the file to make sure that it verifies that income, and we've rolled into a new month. So oftentimes your lender is going to ask for those things. One thing I love about Cornerstone, and I've always thought was really super cool, making it super easy, is they have a mobile app called Loanfly, where, oh my gosh, as a buyer, it is so easy to start your application with Rhonda on Cornerstone on her website, get through the process, and then get her those documents through Loanfly, where you don't have to be printing documents, scanning them. You know, again, they're already all available to you electronically, and you can just submit her these documents. And it's a secure portal, which I think is really cool because, again, some of that information we don't just want floating random around, you know, on emails, but it sure saves time. And haven't you, I know that the younger generation who do everything on their phones, they love that Loanfly because they just shoot you every piece of document, correct?
It blows me away. It blows me away. They just upload, and they're so fast at it. It's so cool to watch them. Yeah, I'll watch them in my office, and they're just sitting right there on their phone, just boom, 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 and I see the documents flying in. So yeah, that part is really cool. Um, here's the big thing about this documentation. You and we get to talk to our clients, and we get to know them, and we hear their story, and we know what their goals and everything are. And that's why I love this job. We get to meet so many cool people. But our underwriters don't. They're sitting at their desk and they're reviewing that piece of paper and they're saying yes or no, yes or no. And so we want that paperwork to tell your story. So we create your story that we get to hear about and what your goals are. And we convey that through paperwork to our underwriters so that we give them that positive information on why this loan should be approved. So that documentation is kind of telling your story.
And again, it's just one of those things where we, pre-mortgage meltdown, we as a industry, we were not maybe doing as well with asking for all of this documentation. As a matter of fact, I believe the Canadians named us the ninja loans, the no income, no job, no asset loans. And that's why we had that mortgage meltdown, is because our lending standards were not as tight as they are now, and they remain tight. And that's why all those documents are needed, because the investor wants to make sure that he gets that clear, she gets that clear picture of who the buyer is. Because like Rhonda said, unfortunately, that investor doesn't get to pick up the phone and talk to the buyer. They have to just look at what's in the file. And so the more documents that you can provide, and just know that the lender isn't trying to be challenging or difficult. It's just they're trying to tell your best story so the investor feels confident when they're giving you that 97% of the value of your home. And when you really think about that, that's a lot of ask.
Yeah, just think of it, if you were actually loaning out $250,000 to somebody, would you want to have a pretty good idea that they're going to be able to pay it back? And that's what we're doing. It's kind of like, in the almost 40 years I've been doing this, it's like this pendulum kind of swings, and things are super tight over here, and then the pendulum swings and they get kind of all loosey-goosey. And just before that mortgage meltdown, they were very loosey-goosey, and we used to say, if you can fog a mirror, you can get a mortgage. So basically, if you're breathing, you can get a loan. And then, of course, when that happened, then it swung way back over here, and it went here and farther. And that's kind of where we're still at right now. It's just barely starting to swing a little bit. We can't ever end up right in the middle where it makes sense, but we're always in one of these swings. And right now we're just in a pretty tight swing, and it's starting to loosen up just a little bit. We just went through the whole COVID pandemic, and there was a whole different set of rules during that period of time, and they're starting to release some of those rules now. So we're seeing a little bit lightening up, but this is the moment that we're in history, and we're on this kind of a pendulum swing right now. So just be prepared. It's not that bad when you know what to expect.
And just remember that Cornerstone does offer that fabulous app that I don't know of any other company that offers, that allows you as the buyer to ease this process. Because if you're talking to your parents or your grandparents, they're going to say, all we had to do is go in and sign a piece of paper. Well, that was the old days because they knew who your family was. They knew your grandpa. They knew how much money he had in the bank because there was only one bank in the town, and that's where he banked. So they knew his patterns. They knew his deposit patterns. They knew his spending habits because they could look at his account. So again, when your lender asks you for information, they're just protecting and, again, telling the story to the investor. So yes, the answer to the question is yes. The mortgage loan officer is going to ask for a lot of documentation to complete that 8-page loan application and make sure that the data behind the loan application and all those documents tell a story. So if you have any questions, just let us know.
And it's for your own protection as well. So we do the checks and double checks and triple checks because there is so much fraud going on out there right now that we want to make sure that we really have the right client, that it's really you, that we're really putting you in debt, and that everything matches up. So it's really for everybody's protection.
And the one thing too is keep an eye on your driver's license, because I have had that happen in the last few months where driver's license was good and then it expired because we pushed closing 2 or 3 days. So you have to have a current driver's license when you go in to sign as a buyer, because the escrow officer is going to notarize your documents and make sure that you are who you say you are, which again, like Rhonda was just saying, might seem like a little bit of overkill, but how would you feel if we didn't check that stuff and all of a sudden on your credit report appears a mortgage loan in some state you don't even live in that you're responsible for now? So document is just safe for everyone.
Yes, exactly. I agree.
Okay, so if you guys have any questions, just let us know. Put it in the comments. We do a show once a week. You can follow us on all our social media channels. Our contact information is at the end of this video. I do answer my phone. Rhonda answers her phone. We do respond to email and text. So feel free to reach out to us. And again, if you're thinking about purchasing a property, easy to get hold of Rhonda. Schedule a time. She has this great calendar app on her website where you can actually, it syncs with her calendar. You can schedule a time that works best for you and your family to sit down, have a video conference just like we're doing right now, and she will chat with you and figure everything out and then send you the Loanfly app, and boom, you'll be in business. So hope everybody has a good week, and we'll see you again next week.